Welcome back to AI Talks with Chris and Nita. We're diving into some pretty cool stuff today, right?
Absolutely.
We've got this algorithm, linear discriminant analysis, and it's all about classification and machine learning. It sounds technical, but we're going to break it down, make it fun.
Exactly. Like, at its heart, LDA is all about finding hidden patterns and connections. Kind of like detective work, but with data.
Okay, I like that. So imagine you're a bank trying to figure out who should get a loan. You've got all this data on people's income and credit scores.
Right, and at first you might think, just look at those separately, but it's not that simple.
Because?
Well, you could have someone who makes a ton of money but has terrible credit. Or someone who's super responsible but doesn't earn a lot. There's overlap.
So how do you make a good decision then?
LDA comes to the rescue. It combines those factors, income and credit score, in a new way, creating like a super dimension that separates the good risks from the bad much more effectively.
Okay, super dimension. Now you have to explain that.
So picture this. All those loan applicants are dots on a graph, right? Income on one side, credit score on the other.
Got it.
LDA is trying to draw a line, the best possible line, that separates the clusters of good and bad risks. But that line isn't just about income or credit alone, it's this new axis, this super dimension.
Okay.
And it's not just about separating them, it also wants to make sure each cluster is as tight and compact as possible. Like all the good risks are really similar to each other.
So LDA is finding the best way to slice and dice the data to get the clearest picture.
Exactly. It's finding the optimal dividing line.
Pretty clever. But I was reading that LDA makes some assumptions about the data, right?
Yeah, it does assume some things, like the data having a bell-shaped distribution, like a normal distribution, and that you can neatly separate the classes with a line.
But what if the data in real life isn't so perfect?
Well, that's the thing, right? Data can be messy. LDA isn't perfect.
So when does it work well?
Think of it like sorting laundry. LDA loves it when your clothes are already kind of pre-sorted into piles, like by color or fabric. But if everything's just a jumbled mess, it's going to struggle.
So what do we do? How do we pre-sort our data for LDA to work its magic?
We can use pre-processing, cleaning the data, dealing with any missing values, getting it into a format LDA understands.
Stop ironing out the wrinkles.
Exactly. And there's something called regularization, too, which kind of helps prevent LDA from getting too fixated on the specifics of the training data, makes it more flexible.
So it doesn't just memorize the answers, but learns the concepts.
You got it.
But how do we know if our LDA model is actually any good? Do we just set it loose and hope for the best?
No way. We test it first with cross-validation. Split the data, train LDA on some of it, then test it on the rest, the unseen data.
A test drive. I like it.
Exactly. That way you know if it can actually generalize to real-world scenarios.
So far, we've gone from what is LDA to understanding how it works, its limitations, and even how to make it better.
Pretty good for a deep dive, right?
Right. Well, this has been an incredible journey, and I can't thank you enough for being our guide. But before we wrap up, any last words of wisdom for our listeners who might be inspired to, dive into LDA themselves?
Just this. Stay curious, keep learning, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and experiment.
Yeah, play around with it.
Exactly. There are tons of resources out there, tutorials, open source libraries. It's all waiting for you.
And don't forget the power of community. Find those groups online, people who are passionate about LDA. They're always happy to help.
The learning journey is always more fun when you're not alone.
So true. Well, on that note, I think it's time to bring our LDA deep dive to a close.
I agree. It's been a pleasure sharing this with all of you.
We hope you've gained a new appreciation for this amazing algorithm, LDA. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one making the next big breakthrough.
Until next time, keep exploring the world of AI. It's a wild ride.
Thanks for joining us on AI Talks.